Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. We are here this time, as I'm sure you have heard, but we wanted to get a video and discuss our thoughts on this as well. WWE releasing 10 superstars as of now, as of recording, which is 11:20 on a Sunday, February 9th. As of now, 10 superstars. I can't imagine we'll get any more at this point. Um, they tend to be within a 24-hour period, 48-hour. So I feel like we're kind of past that at this point. This all started Friday night. So maybe, but unlikely. Anyways, yeah, 10 superstars overall. Some surprising, some not so surprising. Starting with the authors of Pain and Paul Ellering, Sonya Deville, Isla Dawn, Blair Davenport, Giovanni Vinci, and the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. So this is, we had a few releases back in November. And then usually we see it at, that time period, but this one's a little off because it's, on the build to Mania. So this one's a little different, I think, in terms of when they typically release. But yeah, so, like I said, some surprising here, some not so surprising. KP, what are your thoughts? Obviously, we don't want to see anyone leave the company. We never wish that, even on the wrestlers we don't like. But what are your thoughts on the stars listed here? The most surprising, least surprising.
Yeah, I think you covered it well a moment ago. Like, I don't think we're exactly elated or happy that any of these have been released, but I think there are some that you could argue that, it's not really that much of a surprise that they have left the company. My main ones here, I guess you could say, would be Blair Davenport and Giovanni Vinci, the Good Brothers. I think them especially are the ones that I don't really have too much of a surprise about. Blair Davenport, she got called up last year from NXT. Ultimately she was extremely excited, and obviously it's a new opportunity for her. She never really got going. She had, I think, maybe like 2 or 3 matches, maybe even 4 or 5 at most, on TV. And yeah, I mean, I don't even know if she won a match in that time. Maybe one. I'm struggling to really remember, but yeah, I don't know what the creative direction was for her, whether they had anything planned. Apparently there are rumblings of her being in something to do with Piper Niven and Chelsea Green recently. Obviously, they didn't do that, but yeah, I would have liked to have seen her stay on NXT personally. I don't think she was ready to move up at the time, so it was quite a surprise, quite a shock. But I was hoping, maybe they've got something good for her plan. Maybe they're going to roll with this, and she's going to get into some big things on SmackDown. But it just never happened. It's unfortunate. The Good Brothers, they had a recent run on NXT. And besides that, they haven't really been, around on television. I do feel bad for him. We've just had AJ Styles come back, so clearly the OC isn't something that's gonna kick back up again now that they've departed. But yeah, I'm not completely surprised by them being released. Just not really in a relevant picture in quite a long time now. Giovanni Vinci's a strange one because him as part of Imperium, him and Kaiser, they were a fantastic tag team. For anybody who watched them in NXT UK, they'll know how good these guys are. So it's quite a shame that he has been released, and obviously, him distancing himself between, from Imperium, everything that happened there. I get it. What happened. It's a shame, but it happened. But then after he went into his own thing again, Vinci, they just dropped the ball. They had him lose 2 matches to Apollo Crews, in pretty quick fashion on both occasions. And that was it. I don't think we saw him after that. So it's crazy. I don't know what the hell happened behind the scenes, but something must have taken place. But yeah, it's not surprising because the last time we saw him was months ago. But it is a shame. Go on to the likes of AOP here and Paul Ellering. Them involved with the with Karrion Kross, Scarlet of the Final Testament. That's only been a recent thing. So I'm surprised they have been released, at this time, because I thought that wasn't quite over. I'm guessing now Kross and Scarlet are going to be going in their own direction, just the 2 of them once again. It's quite interesting for sure these guys have gone, but I guess, it is what it is, right? Cedric Alexander recently on NXT, involved with the likes of Ethan Page and Javon Evans. That obviously now is completely going to be forgotten about because of his release. That's how they do it. So it's quite interesting. That's quite a shock, quite a surprise. And then Shayna Baszler, no, that's the other one. Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville being released is quite a surprise because I feel like her and PFC, Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler, I feel like they were just trying to kick things up again. You know, Sonya hasn't even been back that long in the grand scheme of things. She's been back, what, a few months, is it? 4 or 5, 6 months sort of thing. So I am quite surprised to see her heading off. But in recent times, she's had a lot of criticism. So I guess it's not the biggest surprise. Maybe the higher ups saw that, and they were taking note of those criticisms or critiques, and maybe they saw them themselves. Maybe they didn't see enough improvement in her game. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. The biggest shock for me is Isla Dawn. I think in a time where WWE's women's tag team division is so sparse of top teams, I think to get rid of one member of one of those teams is just insane to me. Unholy Union, I really, really liked. I thought they were great. Presence that they had, former women's tag team champions. I just really, really liked them. I really, really did. So to get rid of Isla Dawn is a shame for me. It now allows Alba Fire to go solo, I suppose, which is, possibly good for her if they utilize her. That's a big if, though. But yeah, I don't know. I think Isla is the biggest miss here for me personally. I don't know if you agree with that, but I just think the women's tag team division it needs teams, and they've now taken away one of them. But what about you, Nick? What do you think about all of these guys? And do you think any of these are big shocks, big misses? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm similar to you. Kind of what I got from how you did that. I think I'm going to work from least surprising to most. In terms of least surprising, I think I had to say Blair Davenport, unfortunately, just because her call up to Maine was a shock in itself. She had a handful of matches, didn't really feel like it did anything. Crowd reaction was, lukewarm, but I feel like she didn't really even get like a story, didn't really get a character angle. I don't know. She's just one of those talents that I just never really clicked with me. It's not to say that she, wasn't good or anything, just something about her just never really clicked. But that being said, I think Giovanni Vinci, I think would actually I'd probably go with the Good Brothers because of AJ Styles' return. Mission's still around. Kind of thought maybe they would put those guys back together. They're one of those teams, though, and this will go great to the next team being AOP. They're one of those teams that they've just been utilized when it's been convenient. We've seen them, and interestingly enough, with Raw's tag division, they could have been. Why not put them in there to help elevate that just terrible division right now? Why not? Why not put them in there with them? So that seems, and as you mentioned with the women's tag division eliminating Isla Dawn. Anyways, I realize I'm all over the place here, but it feels like an easy fill-in. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson feels like an easy fill-in. They're very reliable. They've been around forever. So that's strange, but I also understand because it just feels like they're only used when it's convenient. And Giovanni Vinci. It felt strange when he left Imperium, and Imperium really hasn't been the same without him, honestly. It's very much just been about Gunther and Luke would kind of trying to make his own, but it felt like a very wasted a turn there. In AOP, they just never really clicked in WWE, did they? For whatever reason, I think it's just a lack of character, honestly. And we've seen it 1,000 times. These big, the big talent, just destroy everything in our path. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, I think a big part of that could be that they left and then came back as basically the same thing. I think, ironically, I feel like the best they were ever doing was with the Final Testament now. And I guess that's no longer. I felt like they were going up against a few people were talking about, Final Testament and the Wyatt Six for Mania. I don't think we're going to get that, obviously. So that was interesting. Cedric Alexander, I think, off the top of my head, correct me if I'm wrong, might be kind of the last one, or definitely one of the last one from the 205 Live brand. I think you could definitely say that he was on borrowed time, as you mentioned, being down in NXT, but for some reason those just didn't seem to work out once 205 was gone. An incredible talent, and I have no doubt that he'll have offers, many offers, in terms of getting signed right away. I feel like he's probably the most guaranteed in terms of being able to go anywhere. I think obviously, and you could say this with most of that 205 roster, the character work was definitely one of the biggest. But I feel like he improved leaps and bounds since when he first started with WWE. So I think he has a bright future, arguably one of the brightest. I would say him or Isla Dawn probably has the brightest. Good Brothers have been around for ever, so I think they'll be fine. They'll have no problem finding another job. Yeah, Sonya Deville. I was actually just singing her praises on the Rumble. I've heard people talking about her having issues backstage, and as I mentioned before, I don't dig around for it, but so I'm not sure what those issues were. I felt like she looked great at the Rumble, and we talked about Pure Fusion Collective. You know, that dominant beginning they had at the Rumble, maybe thinking that they were going to start that push up again. Um, it's a great team. I think she's probably, you could definitely say she's one of, if not the weakest of the three on that team. Um, but I feel like she's improved quite a bit in ring and on the mic since she started. So not sure the whole story on that one, but I think Shayna and Stark will be just fine on their own, or if they want to continue that team, I'm not sure. Definitely wouldn't be quite the same without Sonya. She was definitely the mouthpiece for that team. So, and then yeah, Isla Dawn, crazy. You know, you see these releases, and to think that they had those tag titles. You say what you want about that division and or those titles, but they felt relevant at least when she had them. And so, yeah, I think as you mentioned, that is probably the most surprising. Um, when they first when the unholy union, excuse me, first started, I didn't feel like that was going to be a long term thing, but it worked, and they made it work, and so yeah, her being released, yeah, probably was the most surprising, and in terms of arguably, you could make the case that a lot of these on this team are part of the division that needs the most help, and that is the tag division to both the men and the women. So maybe a common denominator there for the most part. But yeah, I think most of these will have no problem finding another job. In any of the brands, I think AEW will take up quite a bit probably. Um, Especially Cedric. I think Cedric's probably the hottest commodity here. Maybe Isla, we'll see. But yeah, it's these kind of things happen. But you know, we're gonna get on here and voice our opinions on it. Hopefully, this is the end of it. Hate to see that during the Mania season, but part in the nature of the business, I suppose.
Yeah, it's always a shame. You know, things happen. I suppose people move on. People are surplus to requirements, whatever you want to call it. Maybe things don't click. But yeah, at the end of the day, I guess we do have to move on, and you know, we appreciate that some of these guys really had some really good moments, you know, in the company. And you know, ultimately excited to see, especially from some of these, what they do next, where they do end up. And yeah, you know, 90 days for the majority probably, and then we'll probably be seeing them popping up here and there and wherever they do, you know, make their next appearance. But yeah, ultimately gutted about a couple of these, especially, you know, maybe not surprised by some of them, but never happy that, you know, people have lost their jobs and they do now have to find new ones. But I think some of these will be snapped up pretty damn quickly. So, you know, for them, I guess that's something. But yeah, just a little quick video here, guys, for you all based on those recent releases. Let us know what you think here regarding these ones, whether you agree with these releases, or whether you think that WWE dropped the ball with a couple of these or whatever, and maybe you're not surprised as well. But hey, this has been another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. Thank everybody for tuning on in, for listening. Please let us know in the comments what you think, likes, dislikes, agree, disagree, whatever. And please hit a like on the video and subscribe to the channel too. We'll be getting another video very, very soon. So subscribe for future content as well. Thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you later on in that next one. This has been The Push with Nick and KP, and until next time, goodbye.